So I started by looking at Sophia's features and prepping her hair with just a little bit of thickening lotion from Moroccan. I know I'm going to do some like creative braiding and do kind of a really edgy look. So I looked at her hairline. If you will turn this way just a little bit. So she has a really good hairline. She was saying it's thin around here, but compared to mine and a lot of people I see, like there's really not much in here, and this is a really easy gap to fill in. So I'm not worried about that when I'm thinking about doing a high pony or anything like that. If you'll turn the other way, she has really similar, maybe slightly thinner right through here on this side, but it's not anything I'm really concerned about. So as I'm thinking about her features, I tend to, on any model I'm working with, especially if I'm the one casting them for an editorial, I think about like what my end goal is. So for something really edgy, I might want someone who has like some really strong features and not someone with super soft features. If I'm doing more of like decade styling, I tend to pick someone who has like softer, rounder face. Sophia is actually a really versatile model because she has a really even face shape, like nothing too sharp or anything, but she has a really strong cheekbone. She has nice full lips. She has like perfect nose and eyes and literally everything. So she actually could be one of the few models like I would cast to get away with doing like a 60s look. If you can see in here, like she could easily do something like really bombshell that way or something really fierce and editorial. So I'm excited to do this with her hair today. So I just prepped her hair. I always start with a directional blowout. So I prepped this going in the direction that I wanted to start going using my blow dryer. I did that off camera for your sake because I don't want it to sound obnoxious. But basically just put some product in, wet down the areas that you need to, and style it in the direction that you want the hair to go. I want to think about, in an editorial, like mixed textures. And in photography especially, you want to try to add like different products, different ingredients, so that you start getting like not just all one fabric to work with. So I'm going to be using the Curl Control Mousse from Moroccan for the sides. I'm going to start building in this texture. It gives me, when I'm using it this way on straight hair, this kind of wet look. So I just do 2 pumps into my hand. I'm going to rub it through. It turns into like a lotion. And I'm just going to start guiding it into the hair in the direction I want it to go. If you look this way a little bit while I do this side. So as I'm doing her sides here, I'm not doing it super clean yet because again, I want to start building in some texture and movement to it and see how that hair is naturally laying. Sometimes I might want to keep all this like striation in here, and other times I want it super tight and like with no bumps at all. So I kind of let the hair do what it's doing and see what I'm liking. And usually I'm working in a space with like a mirror in front of me, although on photo shoots, sometimes you're working in like a forest. So you don't always have that. So always step around and look at the shape, how everything's going. Do we have any questions so far?
We do not. We have a hello.
Hello, where are you all coming from? We're in Chicago. I didn't mention that, but all 3 of us kind of work all over, just talking about how schedules are crazy and traveling for work, but it's such a rewarding job to be able to work on set and get to see different parts of the world. So I'm now taking this top section right behind the section that I closed off, which if I don't drop my brush, I will show you this. So if you could put your head down a little bit. I did kind of a triangle section here, but I made it a little bit uneven. We are doing this like interesting braid, and I think interesting pieces come from doing things differently than you normally do. So I don't need to have like a super clean part here. I did do that intentionally, so it's kind of like curved and jagged on this side. If you look down a little bit more here, you can see that. Now this section here, I'm going to start building my ponytail at the top of the head. So you can look up. On a photo shoot, if I am just doing this for a photo shoot, obviously I'm doing this while I'm presenting, but I generally would start with either like prepping the hair in either the most basic style, the one with the least amount of products, or if I'm doing like a really big curl set or something like that, I would do that first and then kind of decrease the volume as I go. So that would be a wonderful thing to do with her, but because of doing this for a demonstration, I can't really go from the big curl set and then into this look today. So I'm using a bit of elastic cording. It is white, but let me show you here. So you can get this at any craft store, at Amazon. I use this always for my ponies, unless I'm using like a bungee or something, because you can build the pony as high as you want and get it as tight as possible. So this area I'm definitely smoothing to make sure I have it really tight and secure. Once I have it smooth, I'm not moving this hand. If you start lifting it off the head, that's when you start getting areas that are bunching up or coming undone in the pony. So I move this part around my hand while keeping the bottom of my hand secure at the base. Taking the elastic cording, and the first time I wrap it, it's gonna go under this section here. So I can hold this up in my hand if I want to. Making sure to keep that down. I'm wrapping it over. This part is definitely easier when you have someone to help you, but that's not always the case, whether it's, you know, in the salon and you're doing it for prom or you're on a photo shoot. So you just work a little bit slower and hand it off to yourself. I wrap it around at least 3 or 4 times. The bigger the pony that I'm trying to do, I would do more to make sure it's secure. But this is a pretty small pony, so I don't need to do it very many times. Okay. Once I have that, I grab my other section. I can now release this part of the pony, it'll be fine. And I'm going to do a doctor's knot, which means I'm going to take the one strand of the elastic, wrap it through my loop. I'm going to stand behind it a little bit more so maybe you can see it on my tippy toes because I'm too short to just stand there. Okay, so wrap it twice, and then I'm going to pull it down. Pull it tight, and now I'll just do a regular knot. At this point, for any pony you're doing, any excess, you can cut away, but I'm actually going to keep it there because I might be building this pony up higher, which means I could take this elastic and start wrapping it around each other as I go up the hair, and that will create support and give me a good base to start braiding or adding hair onto. Is everything comfortable so far? I think when you're doing an editorial shoot, especially if it's one for your portfolio, it's really important to cast a model who's right for your shoot. If you're, like I said before, if you're doing something that's like really pretty and soft and you pick someone who has like a really fierce look, it's never gonna turn out the way you want, even if they have the best hair for it. And same thing the other way around. Like I've been on so many shoots where they casted like a hot model for a like really soft, pretty thing, you know, and they're both really good for different reasons, but they don't work for the style of the shoot. Nathan, as a photographer, have you run into that before where?
Yeah, I find that sometimes you cast something because you think they're going to be fit for something that you have in mind, like the mood board, and they give too much in the face sometimes, and they're not. They don't really fit the vibe. Yeah. So it's very important to, you know. It's
like energy goes into it too, and
yes.
Unfortunately you can't really like,
100%.
You know, going through an agency or whatever, unless once you like start building a relationship with an agency, I think it's so much easier. They know who you are. They know your vibe and kind of what you're asking for when you ask for specific things, which always makes it easier. But at the beginning, it can be a little bit hard to figure those things out.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like models think of that as well. Like when we're at like a shoot or something and it doesn't fit like exactly like what we think of us to do. It's just, yeah.
Which has to feel like, I mean, it's your job, and I know you all are professional when that happens, but it has to feel uncomfortable too. It's like, that's not who I am, right? Like,
well, I feel like if I'm ever on a shoot, I always give like something like of me. Like I have to feel like myself in order to like actually accomplish it.
Right.
And it's so important beforehand too, like sending mood boards and showing your vision, because as an artist, you see it in your head. Just like with Kristen right now, she sees that what we're gonna do with her hair, but we don't know exactly, but we have somewhat of an idea because of a mood board. And I feel like that's a crucial thing that I've learned being in this business, is just trying to show a little bit, not exactly what you're seeing in your head.
Everyone has to be on the same page.
Yeah, 100%.
The idea of a mood board too, so for anyone who doesn't know, and if you do have questions, please ask as we're going along with this. But a mood board is something where you show, you know, like kind of maybe your ideal model, the ideal posing, the ideal hair, the ideal wardrobe, or just the overall vibe. And everyone kind of takes that a little bit differently. Some people take it really literally, which I tend to love. When you're like, here's the hair, here's the makeup, and like then from there, it's not going to ever be exact that, but like here's all of the parts of it and how I want to put it together. And other people like just send more abstract, like general mood. And then I think that's where some people can get a little frustrated with like creative interpretation, because everyone's going to see that and think of how they would create something with it, which sometimes can be magic, especially if it's like a team you are used to working with, and other times it can be kind of a nightmare.
Someone did ask, they wish that it was a little sideways so we could see the side. What's happening?
Yeah, we can definitely, can we have you turn sideways? This way.
That's probably better than moving to the camera.
Yeah. Good here.
Are you too far out? Should I move a bit forward?
No, because I'll be working from both sides this way too. Actually, good to see the front here. So again, I just used the curl control mousse. I'm going to use actually quite a bit more of this. This is from Moroccan. I'm going to give her a lot of texture in the front. I think the sides are going to be more sleek, and I want this to really be a little bit more edgy with some volume.
We're back on.
Did we get connected again?
Yes.
Okay, good. If that happens, I'm always coming back, I promise. You can't get rid of me.
We have Lisa saying, hey, Kristen.
Lisa, hi. Lisa's from Chicago too. She's a really, really great artist. So I'm using some clips in the front here. As soon as I put some of these on, I'll have her look your way. I got really good separation already with her hair. You can see. So I'm just enhancing that as that's kind of setting into it. And we're gonna be doing some really like kind of crazy braids through here. When I say crazy braids, they're actually not very intricate or anything, but the details of them like are what's gonna make it look like cool girl, edgy. Okay, if you look towards me. And then, let me see this side. So what I'm gonna start doing on the other side, I really like how on that side, this has dried a little bit with some texture and kind of swooping up, and it fits the side of her hairline really well. So what I'm gonna do is actually work with that, smooth it down a bit, and then I'm gonna start braiding it down towards her face. On this side, I'm gonna come through and make this really sleek. So I'm gonna put products in to start laying this side flat. Usually I would do this section by section with a blow dryer as I work towards the front of the face to make it lay down really well. But again, because we're on camera, I'm not gonna be using a blow dryer. I am gonna be using the Mending Infusion from Moroccan Oil. This is one of my favorite products to use when I'm doing a sleek look. So it's originally made for split ends, so like men with split ends in between haircuts. But when you use a lot of it, it will lay down any flyaways, and it has a really nice, like, more than natural shine, but not like sticky sheen kind of look. So it's a really, really nice product to build in when you're doing a really sleek look. Again, I'm going section by section and applying it onto the hair. If someone has a ton of flyaways, she somehow doesn't, even though she has fine blonde highlighted hair. If someone has a lot of flyaways, I'd probably actually apply this with a color brush, and that will start smoothing it down as I'm going. But I kind of like how I'm seeing the texture again evolve with it, and then I'm smoothing it out section by section.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, if we can
So
get a
we're, like,
little
out
bit
of it.
closer and on this angle, that would be good. Thank you.
Let me move a little forward really quick, just so I can show the whole hair. Yeah. That's good.
So again, using the Mending Infusion, section by section. As I get towards the hairline, I'm also assessing, like, do I want to leave any of this out? Do I want to create some like interesting curl or piece here? A lot of times if it's like my own shoot, my own like creative design, I'm doing it as I go. If it's a team I've never worked with and we have something planned, before I add anything, I would always ask the photographer, creative director, whoever planned the shoot, to make sure we're still on the same page. The last thing you would want to do is do all that and have them say, like, why did you just do that? We didn't discuss it, we didn't plan it. So don't just go being creative when you don't have the right to do it. Especially like commercial shoots and things like that, if it's something you get into a lot, you really don't have the ability to be super creative on those shoots, but they're really rewarding and a completely different experience. So I am kind of liking the idea of something that I'm gonna do around her face here. You can kind of see that with this light. So I'm gonna do that at the very end, but I'm gonna leave that out as I'm doing the rest of it. If you're just starting out and you're trying to get into like working with editorials and photo shoots and that kind of stuff, I mean now is like the easiest time probably to do it, because you have all these platforms, you have Instagram, you have, I don't know, so many different resources you can reach out to people, and there's so many different levels of creatives out there, and people are a lot more accessible in that way. So you can always plan, shoot with like other people who might be newer. Can I just point out though, like look towards this way, look towards the wall. The like glass shine that you get with this, it's like such a beautiful finish. You can relax now, thank you. I will never forget my first photo shoot. It was like 9 months after I got out of school. I did the brand Sebastian, they had, I think they still have it, but they had something called the What's Next Awards, and it was like a photo shoot competition, but you had to do like an editorial based on the theme that they picked. And so I had my friend model, and then my cousin's a photographer, but he didn't really do this type of work, and he still doesn't, but he did it for me. And I was in the West Loop before, if anyone's familiar with the West Loop in Chicago. It's a really nice area now, but it was really industrial many, many years ago when I did this. And they had all these like industrial buildings and like trucks coming through, and I bought these dresses from like, I don't know, some cheap store, and spent probably my whole paycheck on like things that I thought I needed for it, which wasn't very much at the time, but I did it all. Then I'm walking with like all my bags over to the photo studio, and I drop the dresses. I look around, the dresses are like a block behind me in the middle of the street, and as I'm turning around to look, a semi-truck drives over them. And I was like, this is like a movie scene. Like, I was so defeated, but I was like, okay. Running back with all my bags, I couldn't, they were so heavy. I was like about to drop them anyways. I was like, this can't be happening. But I ended up placing as a semi-finalist in that, and it was like an international competition. So
Amazing.
yeah, that they never knew. So humble beginnings, but I just kept from there. Like, I built a website with like 3 pictures, and then I was like, would reach out to people because they would always be like, well, where's your website? And I just made one, and slowly evolved over time, and then started getting paid work, and then it finally paid off, but it took a long time to get there.
Should we flip the other way?
I think so. Yeah. Like that. So this is the side I was saying I like how it is kind of forming this like upward swoop over here, and it gives some interesting detail. So I'm going to keep that. When I'm doing stuff like this, I want to make sure I'm refining as I go, because if I try to fix it and everything's going in different directions, I'm going to have a hard time trying to smooth it out. I'm going to grab some of these clips if you don't mind holding these for me. I'm going to grab my hairspray. So this is not, this is the Moroccan Oil Extra Strong Hairspray. I usually, as a working spray, work with like the strong. I think it's a really nice working spray, but something like this I don't want to touch after. I want it to start staying where I put it, so that's what I'm going to use. Anytime I'm using an aerosol, I'm working in the direction that I want the hair to go. Any flyaways, if I'm spraying like this, one, I don't want extra strong hairspray to get all over my work. I just want it in the area I want it. But even if this was like medium or something really workable, if I'm spraying it this way, I'm gonna spray, that little bit of aerosol is gonna spray those flyaways in the direction I don't want it to go. So I'm always really intentional with that. Would you mind maybe moving the camera a little bit closer?
Yeah. How's that?
Much better, thank you. A lot of times on set, you have one of these, you're not allowed to like post pictures and stuff, especially if it's a paid shoot and like for a commercial or something. But I try to still take photos that I don't share, because it's always good to look back on, one, your work, but also the lighting, and compare it to the final lighting of like what the commercial looked like. And you'll learn a lot about that, especially if you do hair and makeup. The makeup especially will show up kind of differently. So it's good to have those reference points.
What's one of your most memorable shoots that you've done?
Oh, that's a good question. I did a really fun one on Monday, but I can't talk about it yet. I've had really good luck on photo shoots and video shoots for the most part. I think there's only one in my career, which was pretty early on. It was a really big shoot, but that was stressful in a way that was like not fun, if that makes sense. Generally, I've worked with mostly really, really great people. I did one with a celebrity chef, and so that one was super fun because they were just feeding us like really good food all day.
Free food.
They were like, everything they made, they're like, okay, here. I'm like, okay. So that was fun. But they're all really interesting in completely different ways. Like that again was like not so much creative hair, it was just kind of like her a little bit glammed up, but the experience of, you know, seeing them in their element is really fun. And again, the food was great.
What's one of your like favorite hairstyles to do? Like, is it braids? Is it like just hair coloring itself? Like, what would you say? I love working with a lot of like hair extensions and wigs and like for shoots and stuff. Creating your own vision.
Yeah, it really stretches you creatively, and you have to work with it differently than you would human hair. So like combining the two, the way that I just feel like it's a whole different experience for me. One thing I was working on recently, I had to sew a wig on for a stunt double, and she was a gymnast, and so it had to be safe for her, and so like that was completely new, and I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, that it was like, you know, going to stay on and be safe. That's a lot of like liability that's on me for it, but it turned out good. And it's again like rewarding when you do something like that. And I think when you come into things like that, it is really important to be honest with production. Like they didn't say this in like a bad way. They were just like seeing everything I was doing. They're like, oh, I didn't know so much went into that. And I was like, well, I can't just put a wig on, you know, like for this, you know, something else like a stand-in or whatever, you can just apply it. It doesn't have to be secure. You know, you're not gluing it down or anything. So you have to think about also what's going to be best for that and then communicate, which sometimes can be uncomfortable if people push back, but it's also your name on it. And again, when it comes to safety, like that's not something I am willing to like back down from. But they were all for it, so I didn't have a problem with that, thankfully. Okay, I'm liking this piece, and I'm gonna do something with this kind of sticking out somewhere. If you look towards the camera, you can see, look down a little bit maybe. I don't know if you can see it, but there's kind of a lot of...
Should I move closer to the camera so they can take a look?
Yeah. A lot of texture, some movement in there. We're gonna have some shine, smoothness throughout the back. And I'm going to be adding lots of hair somewhere in here. Thank you. As I'm adding hair, I'll have you again switch that way, okay, because all my stuff's behind us here. So we're not working in the salon. We have this like kind of pop-up studio situation. So
Hold on, let me move just a bit forward so they can still see it.
Turning chair would be good, but...
Yep.
So I want to make sure this hair isn't in the way of the hair I'm about to put on. I also want to point out everything I'm doing, I'm taking shape into consideration. Like I'm looking here, this right now with this all super sleek would actually work on her.
some people's like head shape that would not look good at all, but something filling in this area would also be really nice.
What is one Moroccan oil product that you cannot live without?
Admittedly, dry shampoo,
I was gonna say the same thing.
because I'm pretty lazy when it comes to washing my own hair. But I like, say my hero products from them, thickening lotion, dry texture spray. Yeah, the dry shampoo personally, absolutely love. And the purple shampoo.
I absolutely love the Moroccan oil dry shampoo. They have 2 different ones, one for brunettes and one for blondes specifically. It's light tones and it's dark tones, I'm pretty sure. Yes. So the light one, once you like put it on your hair, like if you're a blonde specifically, it'll like help kind of like mix up, like if you have like outgrown roots, it kind of like hides it.
I
Which
use
is
it,
amazing.
yes, for root touch-up all the time. Root touch-up and when you need to wash it touch-up. So
Yep.
it's like 2-in-1 product. It's perfect for that, especially with the ashier hair. Now with the one for dark tones, if you do have like a warmer blonde, you can definitely use that one too for it. It just has like a subtle warmth to it, so it's not as ashy.
I just feel like whenever I use it, it just like boosts up my hair and it looks like I just got it freshly done, which is amazing.
So I have a bunch of different hair extensions. I have a whole table of them. I always bring a ton when I'm doing an editorial. One, because I don't always know, like, do I want to add this kind of texture? Her hair is a lot more dark underneath than I like saw or noticed, which actually could be fine because I can always darken this. And I will always bring stuff with me too to add color into it, especially synthetic hair. This doesn't have like a ton of shine, although it looks like it on camera. It kind of looks dull in person, which is weird that I'm seeing that. But it does look unnatural, right? This color, just all this kind of super blonde, yellowy one color. So I'll usually use some color sprays or some eyeshadow, or Temp2 is a makeup brand. So they have an airbrush hair color that I'll use sometimes, and it's just really nice to spray it in, especially at the roots. So even, now this is gonna be dark brown, so maybe not the ideal color, but it's okay. At the roots, I'll spray kind of far away, if you can see it. Because everyone's hair at the roots is generally a little bit darker. So that starts adding in some depth to the extensions. And it already is gonna start looking a little bit more natural. I generally stay like 2 shades in between. So if it's like a medium brown, I would actually use like a lighter color sometimes with this. 2 shades up and then 2 shades darker. Right now she's looking kind of like goddess-like, which is wonderful, but definitely not what we're going for. I think I'm gonna use straighter hair. So I always bring, again, a bunch of colors, some bangs, which you can see.
I've never seen myself.
Oh yeah, this is the look. We're done, guys. Everyone,
This is
sign
it.
out, we're finished. So, obviously restyle things. But yeah, I always have a bunch of bangs and stuff with me. Actually, for one runway show, I was assisting someone, and the one model was supposed to wear her hair natural, and then they changed it last minute to have it straight, and I don't think he had bangs for her because it was gonna be natural. So in a panic, he's like telling me, can you go get bangs? So I did, and then I got stuck. If anyone's familiar with Chicago, I somehow got stuck on Lower Wacker Drive, which is this tunnel that never ends underneath the city. And you don't get service down there. So he's texting me, where are you? Are you coming back? Did you get lost? Are you okay? And I was like, I have the bangs. But I was just lost. Do we have many people watching who's in Chicago?
Did you always know that you wanted to be a hairstylist or like a hairdresser when you were younger?
No, I always did it for fun and on my friends, and I would like color people in elementary school with markers. The brunette girls like didn't like it because it didn't work. But no, I always liked it. But my high school offered we can go to this program for part of the day, and it's like a tech program, and they had cosmetology there, and it's like, well, it takes like half of my day at school, and I always like doing this stuff, so why not? So that's where I started, and then I loved it, so yeah, just kind of stuck with it.
If you were to live anywhere else in the United States or even the world, where would it be?
London or Zurich.
Why?
I worked in London for a summer, and I absolutely loved it there. All the people I met, like, super creative. Now I was there working like Fashion Week and studying at this academy, so I was already like, introduced to these people who were like that. But I just made like such beautiful connections there who, I don't know, they're just really lovely people and really inspired by the environment. I did have really good luck with the weather though. Like the whole time I was there, it rained 20 minutes one day. So I think I have a pretty skewed view of London weather. And then Zurich, I was only there for like a day. I was in other parts of Switzerland, but the design aspect there was just incredible. Like all of the stores, everything was so thoughtful and intentional. Like the displays were really curated, and the clothes, and there were like people just dancing on a gazebo at like, I don't know, 9 at night, like all these couples, like young and old, and I don't know, it's just really cool.
Sounds like freedom. Like,
yeah.
Just like free.
And it was so safe, which is always good.
Mm-hmm.
And the food was really amazing. I was not expecting that, no offense. We were in between there and Italy, and I was like, I like the food here better than Italy, which was amazing. So yeah, I just think it's really cool. Also working in Europe, you're just exposed to a lot of different cultures, like kind of all at once, that we have in some areas here. Like when I'm working in New York or Miami, I feel like there's a little bit more of that. And Chicago's a lot of diversity, but it's not as like you don't just hear 10 languages around you all the time, right? So I really like that aspect of it too.
I've never been to Europe, but I really want to go.
Oh, you should.
I know.
We all should. We should go. Our next shoot should be there.
Yes. Taking your flight tonight.
I'll have you look towards the wall a little bit. So I'm pulling all this up into a ponytail in the back, and I'm going to start spraying these flyaways as I'm smoothing it up. Something I noticed in Europe, which the last time I was there, I was there last year, but when I worked for Fashion Week, I'll actually have you tilt your head back a little bit.
Back?
Sorry, like chin up, yeah. This way a little bit more. So this is a tip I like when I'm doing a ponytail. It actually will buckle a lot more if their head is down. It's more comfortable for you as a stylist to have them that way, but when they lift their head up, you're gonna get all this buckling back here. So it's gonna be much tighter of a ponytail if you ask them to lift their chin up. Same with braiding when they're going backwards. when you're at the bottom of the braid here, I want to make sure that it's up in that position. So I'm taking these clips out from the side now, so I can start incorporating it into the ponytail at the top. Another thing, if you don't have, when you're starting out, it's hard to buy a bunch of hair. Like, it can be really costly. I don't even know how many wigs and hair pieces and everything that I've accumulated over the years. So, you know, I have access to that now. But when you're first starting out, it can be really hard. If you're working with a photographer you know well and you're used to, I wouldn't necessarily do this if you're like trying to make a good impression on someone. It's like the first time doing it. But if you already have a relationship, like let's say Nathan and I were doing shoots and I'm like, Nathan, I only have this color hair with me, and let's say it's this blonde. I know I'm gonna be like weaving this through, so it's not a problem. But if I want to do like a whole like super tight pony and only add this color, he could in post, as long as that's something he's comfortable with, change the color of that hair. So as long as that's a conversation earlier on, it's definitely something you can talk about if you don't have multiple colors of hair with you. That's about the only thing I would expect them to be able to do in post. Not that they might not be able to do more. I think with makeup, a lot more is done, which I always I kind of prefer when less is done, but you know, to each their own, you can't control it all. But with hair, it's a lot harder to edit, but they can change the color, so that's one area I don't mind asking them if I need to. And they would probably automatically do it without asking me, to be honest, but.
Yeah.
So when it comes to editing with hair and makeup, are there things that you see that people do often that are not easy to handle?
I would say with hair it is with like the face makeup and everything, that definitely can be more manipulated. But with hair, definitely like I see a lot of flyaways when I'm editing and stuff like that, which you cannot control. But I definitely think it could go in a lot to like seeing how you use like different hairsprays and different holds can hold things more stiff.
Yeah, and I like layering products also, so that you have like these different levels of hold. I think one that's a much more natural, like beautiful finish. Okay, we're back. So I was saying I like to use different products, whether I'm working on bridal or an editorial or you know what it is. Like let's say you're working on bridal. You want that hair to last, obviously, all day, all night, and they might be in like super humid weather, they might be indoor, outdoor, doing all sorts of things, dancing. I want it to last, but I think today's styles don't look like they used to, where it would be the super strong hairsprayed look and you can just depend on using, you know, your freezing hairspray. So you have to build that in. So I like using like the volumizing mousse from Moroccan that has anti-humidity and anti-static properties. So like again, in an extreme climate, that's like my go-to first product for layering in the hair when I'm trying to get a long-lasting hold.
And we're back on.
Okay, so I was saying I like to use like the volumizing mousse, the thickening lotion, volumizing mist, you know, start layering those products into the hair before you even start relying on hairsprays. Then as I'm working, I'll usually use like dry texture spray to give a little bit of grit and hold, or medium hairspray. And then as I get towards the end, if I need, you know, the strong or extra strong hairspray in certain areas, I'll do that. But I also can reliably count on my style to hold without having to use really hairspray at all. Because I've already, prepped the hair in the way that I want it to be styled. And then I also provided a lot of like foundation products as I went along. Another thing I'll do for photo shoots, but also for photography, for like bridal, because they are going to be in photos. I use a planchette, which is like the balayage board. I'll put a bunch of products on there and then use like either a makeup or a color brush that obviously doesn't have color on it, and I'll paint it on in different areas, because that's gonna, each product is gonna have a different like reflection of light. So by painting it on, once the style is finished, you'll be able to create dimension that might have not been there already.
Getting comments about bad connection.
Sorry,
There we go.
Back.
are we back?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. So if you look this way a little bit, towards the white wall. So I have the two ponies on the side. I have this section that was smoothed back this way. I'm going to use this to wrap both of these up. And I like, at this point, that there is a separation here. Feel till it's kind of like this. So again, for an editorial, I might do some weird kind of like braiding, separation pieces in here. It doesn't have to be like functional the way you think of your typical styling. Okay. Can everyone hear and see, and are we connected? No? Well enough.
That's right.
And we're back.
So I'm gonna just connect these two now. And I have them spaced like maybe like 2 inches apart. If I'm doing like just a high pony where I want it to be like have a lot of volume and length, I'm not gonna separate them that far because it's gonna look weird. But I don't mind that there's a whole
Style with a cut in Sarasota, Florida. And
Sarasota.
yeah, it was a great opportunity, but I wasn't there at the time, so I'm thinking of what else. Nothing else with hair. I've done others though. I'd love to do more hair, so we'll see. So glad you asked me to do this with you. This is so fun.
Yeah, thank you. Great hair to work with. Now you said you're with Select in Chicago and Miami right now, right?
I'm with Select Chicago, LA, Miami, and Atlanta.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, there's a pretty big like shooting network in Atlanta, right?
Yes. I have not been there myself yet, but I'm planning on going there pretty soon to meet with the agency. Though I'm signed with them, I have not met them yet, which I'm excited to. I also have not been to LA, but I'd love to go visit there because I feel like that's like a great like environment for models itself. But I also do want to go to New York.
All very different vibes.
Very, I know. That's where like all the editorial and like everything like editorial takes place, which I love. High fashion. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I want to go to New York Fashion Week.
So much fun.
I think I will be doing it next year. I did
Speak
Miami
it
Swim Week,
into
but it's
existence.
yes, I will be doing it. Manifestation.
Yes.
I didn't realize how big of a thing Paris Fashion Week was.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's probably. Some would definitely say bigger.
I'll be
Yeah.
walking those runway shows once I'm older. Just watch.
Should be doing it soon.
Yep.
I really did not know about it until probably this year.
Well, I think that's, yeah, one thing with like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these things, right? It gives us access to things like, and people who aren't just directly related and invited into that world.
Even that's like you get to see so much behind the scenes of what really goes on.
But it's crazy how like everywhere is a different market. Like Chicago, it's commercial, very like natural, like blazer type of look. Bigger brands in terms of like more variety of like diversity in terms of like there's like Target and Kohl's and like the bigger companies. And then as you go to like Miami, it's just like swimwear and like I could say like a little bit more of like teen clothing. Like I know like Garage takes place there.
Well, there's a lot of like video production that happens there, which is less so, I guess, casting with models. There's some markets that will do both, but then it would be like models without speaking parts because you can't have a speaking part in a commercial unless you're part of that union and whatever. So yeah, it's really interesting how that works. So I think they do a lot more with video when it comes to just like, yeah, like talent casting. Models that like music videos, that's one they're booked a lot for.
Yes.
Okay, I'm kind of liking how this is evolving. If you look to the side here, kind of looks a little bit crazy right now, but tilt back. It will start looking really cool at some point as I start putting this texture in. So in here, I'm actually going to use some dry texture spray. With dry texture spray, depending on what I'm trying to do, I might want to take it in the opposite direction where I'm going because I'm trying to add as much like texture as possible, right? So again, I'm always keeping in mind what the actual shape is looking like though. So you can have like really weird kind of funky pieces, but if the shape is not doing her justice, it's not flattering on her head shape, it's not flattering with her face shape and all of that, it could be the most beautiful thing too, and it just won't work. So if you ever notice like Bella Hadid can pretty much wear a pony literally any place on her head, like she can wear a high pony, she can wear it back here, she can wear it super low, she can wear a side part and all that. That's because she has, will you look forward for a moment? So Bella has these focal points on her face. She has these eyebrows that are, you know, like up snatched like that. So that's one area of the head. If you draw a line from there to here, that's where perfect pony will lay because it's a focal point that's like really beautiful on her face. She also has these cheekbones. That's why if you draw that line from here to here, she can wear pony in the middle of her head. And she has this like crazy jawline. So if you draw a line from here to here, she can wear pony there and it works. Does that work on everyone when they're looking straight ahead at you? No. Right? Like it might look fine, it might be a beautiful pony, but it's not gonna give you that same like beautiful, taken back, high pony, low pony, whatever kind of look.
I love how you're examining my face and like making sure that it also like fits my face so it could like look presentable, because there have been so many like issues like where I've had like even makeup artists where they have like one
really
view,
cool, but it's not
yes, they have one view and they stick with it instead of trying to change it up and see how we could look with specifically my face and what looks best for me.
You have to be flexible. As much as you can have a plan, and you should have a plan, you also have to be able to
But you need to tweak it in a way, adjust.
And like I said, I've seen her in person, like I know her, yet I still didn't realize how dark her hair is underneath here. You know, like I never like fully examined her hair, which I could have, that's my fault, but I didn't. But it's completely fine. So you have to be prepared for those kind of unexpected things to happen too. So I'm liking where this is going this way, and I'm actually gonna loop it through the middle of the back of this like bun situation I have going on this way. In the comments, I'll post the some of the images that were like really rough images of just the like images I was inspired by that I sent to both of them, that I was like, this is kind of like the vibe I want to do. They're all very different, but when you look at them together, you're like, I get it, right? Would you say? So they all had some braids, some like pieces kind of like sticking out in cool shapes. And And again, those pictures like are static. When you have a live model, they'll be moving, and you hopefully have more than one picture that you end up as a like results with. So you want it to look good from every side, every angle, and that's where shape really comes into play with that too. Okay, good with this so far. I'm gonna actually have you turn around the other way now. And
I can't figure out how to best view this. Is this good? Help. Think a little forward. There we go.
so that piece I know I want down and kind of over that. And I'm gonna start braiding through the front of here. Will you look towards the white cape? In the back, I also made this zigzag parting on the side, so that will be, could be an interesting feature, or I could end up hiding it at the end. It will depend on whatever I'm feeling like as it's happening. So you like give yourself those areas, and that comes with experience to know like shape and direction and how things are kind of evolving. Like they're not scary to me. Like I know where I'm going to enough anyways. But I also have these points where it's like freedom to change up the look a little bit. I also think if you, like what we were saying, if you're too strict with your plan and the hair is just doing something completely different, you almost like miss out on these moments of like really magical things happening creatively, because you're blocking like whatever you're inspired by in that very moment and what the hair is doing. So I really want these pieces to stay, so I'm gonna actually start the braid up here and then just add this in looser on the side as I come along. For anyone just joining, we're doing an editorial look. I also used some extensions earlier, some color stuff, so if you see that on my hands, that's what that's from. Just clipping this out of the way. Also want to point out, like an editorial look does not have to be difficult. It just has to be taking something, like even taking something super simple and just making like one detail a little bit different. Like I could have just done, will you look at the camera really quick? I could have just done these pieces in the front and left her hair like down, or added a few like weird bends in the hair, and thank you. And that could be already a look. And generally, like if I'm doing that, I'd be like, okay, let's shoot this and then move on to the next look, next outfit, that kind of thing. But because we're doing this as a presentation, I'm not stopping, and I'm just gonna keep letting it evolve.
I think it's important too for editorials, adding like drama into the hair.
Yes. And as Nathan was saying earlier, sometimes the like personality and like energy doesn't always fit what it is. So we also have the ability to kind of tone them down that way, right? Like if someone has like major dramatic energy, I don't mean dramatic as in like a bad way or like fussy kind of dramatic, but just like
Sassy, fierce.
yeah, like theater drama kind of person, right? And they're gonna show up and like bring this kind of over the top energy. I might not want to put them in an over the top look, right? Because they're already, like you said, with their expressions, their body language, all of that, going to do it. And sometimes it will, like that will be the perfect person to do an over the top look for, so. Anytime you can cast someone you have worked with or you know, it's always good because you know how they work and how they pose. And you know, some people might be like really self-conscious about one side. I've had that, like one side of their face, and they're like, oh, that's not like, I like looking this way more or whatever. And that can be really bad if you're trying to do a hair shoot where maybe you already just did the whole style that's supposed to go that way, right? So a professional model generally, like, even if they do feel that way, won't act upon it that way. But when you're hiring, like, or just working with someone who's like naturally pretty and taking that in, you might run into more of that. So do you see how adding that in here, I'm leaving the shape how it is while the braid's gonna start coming towards the face? Anytime I'm braiding, where my hands go is where the braid is gonna go. So I wanna make sure I'm always, generally my body, I'm gonna do this for a quick second, is right behind the braid, but because I'm on camera and don't wanna show you that angle of me too much, I'm standing aside, but my hands are always going in this direction because that's the way I want the braid to lay. Are you still comfortable?
Yes.
It's also important to ask your models how they're doing. Doesn't matter if they're paid or not. Either way, I think they always deserve respect. And one, like, even if it's just for selfish reasons, which I don't think it should be, but even if it is, like, them being comfortable is just gonna make them show up better for you on set. So it's a win-win situation. Take care of them.
Totally agree with you. Like the respect that you give, like if the respect you give me, I will give you respect as well. And then we work as a team together.
Yeah, it's for all of us, right? And we all want our day to go as smooth as possible, have the best like energy and everything. And I like when I'm working at Fashion Week, you know, I've actually never run into this, but I've been around it where I've seen it or had other people experience where like the model can be kind of more cold or snippy about something. And I try to come from a place where like I totally understand why. They might have been doing like 7 shows that day. They might not have had any food that day, and everyone just kind of like pushing them around like, okay, sit here, go do this, do that, and like kind of forgetting that they're human. So anytime that you can acknowledge like that they're a person and just offer water or like ask if they're comfortable, I think they will appreciate that and again give that respect back to you that you might have had a long day too and you're able to be connecting. Just trying to do the job. Do we have any questions? Sorry, I struck you in here. I'm now liking with this braid here, if you'll look towards the white.
Oh, the way.
I like how this piece, I just clipped it out of the way, but I think really smoothing this out here and going in this direction, I'm liking how that's looking and giving me this cool contrast with their color right here. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to smooth out some of this area and kind of shape it a little bit better. And then I'm going to start taking out, you can actually face the front again. So we're almost at our finishing pieces.
For anyone watching, what is one product that you guys cannot live without in terms of hair?
Jen says, hey friend. Sorry, Jen, I'm sure.
Who does?
Jen. Bo.
Oh, hi. She's in New York right now. I just missed her. try to line up. Okay, so I just wrapped this piece, if you'll turn to your right, around here. So that is covering up some of this elastic. I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover the elastic or not because it could be a cool feature we keep, but I do like this. Yes,
Sorry.
yeah.
Thank you.
When I was just finishing school, I was so afraid to cut men's hair, and because I was worried, like, if they sneezed or if I tripped, I was always afraid of tripping. I'm like really clumsy, but somehow in like the 10 years I've been doing hair, that hasn't happened yet. But that it would be like you trip and you just take their whole hair off, right? So there's like no coming back from that. But yeah, luckily that hasn't happened, and I think it would actually be really hard to happen. You can look up. My natural instinct when when someone does like move or something is always to like pull away, which thankfully is good because you don't want to cut or burn or anything, someone. I also always try to ask the stylist what they'll be wearing. So you can try to have that figured out before they're fully done with clothes and with their hair, and you have something really intricate and don't know if you're gonna end up smashing it while they're getting their hair together or getting dressed. But I am the wardrobe stylist today too, and we haven't figured that out yet. So I have only me.
All three of us are.
Yeah, we all brought like 10 bags of, I don't know yet, we'll see. But it will be really
Well, that's
fun.
the best. Always being prepared
Yes.
with everything. That's
I'm so
like,
excited. There's so many pieces I have that I've like been wanting to shoot and I just haven't. I have this addiction where I just collect things, and then I was telling them I came with 6 bags, like
I always
big
just
bags
reuse
of
my
things.
clothes.
And leaving my place today, you couldn't even tell that like I took anything from it. I'm like, this is a problem.
So when you're casting models, what do you look for the most? Could it be like hair, or is it like, since like obviously there's different like hairstyles and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you look for like specifically like long hair for one shoe, or like what exactly do you look for?
When I first started and like I had some like agency contacts who were like letting me test shoot, which means working for free, but you're getting like beneficial images and stuff, right? I honestly would just like be like, oh, she's really pretty, and then work with them or whatever, like who they'd give me. And yes, my opinion on that has definitely evolved a lot, because just being really pretty doesn't mean like dark hair doing something like this might not show as well, right? If it's too long and blunt, it might not show. Sometimes I want a really short-haired model, and you can't just ask an agency model to cut all her hair off. Like that is, unless you're paying major money, but that you're more likely, yeah, you're more likely to get, someone else like who works for your aesthetic, who isn't a signed model to do something like that. I was in a class one time, a long time ago, and his advice was to work with dancers, like to work at your,
Dancer.
oh, even better. So yeah, you're like not agency, you're like a dance academy or whatever, and one, generally, if they're above 18, that's always better than if, people are resharing it and stuff. Like, you always want your model to be old enough to consent to that. So, use that. But so like if you use a dancer, they tend to pose better than the average person, especially like back before the days where everyone took pictures of themselves, right? Like now I think there's a lot more leeway with that. You can find people on Instagram, you can find people, what was that website? You guys are both too young.
Model Me.
Oh yeah, so have you used it?
I never had to use it, but I know.
Oh, actually.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, there was a lot of sketchy stuff going on there, but
Yeah.
there was also like where legit people would find creative people
Yeah.
to work with. But it was like Craigslist for modeling, so you could see how that could be
Yep.
going wrong.
I think even being careful on Instagram too, working with people who
Everywhere right now, it's just you have to be cautious.
make sure you guys are just on the same page. Like working with someone, especially when it is a test something, get them excited. You want them to be that same energy. Even goes well with working for test shoots and stuff like that. You definitely want someone who's excited to be like, I'm really excited to like see that hairstyle or work with you because I like the way you're working.
That's so true. And I always, on the note of safety, I always work with someone who, even like if I haven't worked with them, but I know someone who has, so I could like message them and be like, hey, I know you for real in person, or at least know you're a real person because you're a friend of a friend, or whatever that situation is. And I see you have tagged pictures with this, photographer. Were they creepy? Did you feel safe? Like,
Well,
were
I've
you in
had-
an environment that you felt okay in? So I think it's really good to do, not just be like so excited that like, oh, this photographer wants to work with me. It's like, well, also check who they've worked with and how they felt about it.
Yeah, I've had models reach out to me and be like, hey, like I saw that you shot with this photographer. Like, is it safe? Like, did you like it? Like, how was it? And like, I just get my honest thoughts. I haven't really had a photo shoot where I felt unsafe yet. But when I was younger, I remember my mom, she would take me all the way to Chinatown in the
Maybe
city.
face this way.
Yes. Or was it my dad? I don't remember if it was my mom or dad. And they stayed with me in Chinatown because like I'm meeting this like photographer and it was a man and I didn't know if I was safe or not. So. But,
And those pictures were how I found Sophia.
Oh.
yeah. I think, was I 16 when we first shot or 17?
Yeah, I think 15.
15?
How old are you?
19.
Oh, so young. And how old are you?
22.
Oh. You guys are doing so well, like career-wise.
Thank you.
It's like you're both doing a lot. That's awesome.
We're very passionate in both of what we do, so. I think we're both very driven.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we take every
That's good, too.
opportunity possible and like just go
That
from there.
is, yeah, I
Like,
think.
it's okay to say no, but I take every opportunity I can. Like, if I were to say no, it would be actually due to a reason,
Yeah, I said yes to everything, and then it's like it gets really exhausting, and then it was yes to everything free, and there's like a lot of controversy about working for free within the hair and makeup world on a photo shoot. I hate that. There's people saying don't do that because it is the only way I got to where I am, and you don't have to work for free. Like, that's your choice. But if you want to get anywhere, you have to build a portfolio, and that takes either paying someone or working for free. So I'd rather work for free than pay someone.
Mm-hmm.
And where people get mistaken, though, is like when brands take advantage of you and they're making money off of a shoot and they're not paying you. That's not an area you should work for free. So I think that's like a big misconception and where people get kind of scared. But brands make plenty of money, and
Yeah, when it comes to it being like with brands, that I understand. But when it comes to like an opportunity where like when Nathan reached out to me and him just shot it both without any money involved.
yeah,
Like
it's
we
like
literally
both
was just
creative
both
energy,
creative,
yeah.
yes, and we're just having fun. Like that's all that matters in the long run.
So I really want to, if you'll look at the camera, have some of these pieces like really spiked out, doing something like this, but I do need her to get dressed first before I do that. The braid, I might end up braiding something with this to have it a little bit like more cohesive, or with this side here. I'm not sure yet. Again, that's like once she's in some type of clothing, I want to figure that out. But I will have you, I'm actually going to hold the camera up, and if you can just do like a wraparound of what you have going on now. Let me... Okay, do you want to stand or?
Yeah, I'll stand.
Okay. So, and then you can just turn in. So you can see we have a lot of different like areas of movement, texture, things going on. This braid again might go somewhere through here and then have some of those pieces kind of sticking out. But we will, oh, that looks really cool from the side, back that way. We'll do the finishing touches and go live on my personal Instagram once she's dressed and show you kind of the final look before, and maybe go live again during our photo shoot. We're going to some abandoned places.
You're making it sound worse than it is.
Yeah.
It's just an abandoned gas
About that
station.
safety factor, make sure you know who you're working with when you go to sketchy places, and yeah, have someone tracking your phone or go live so you know you can watch us all. No, just kidding. We'll be good. But thank you all for tuning into this. Again, my Instagram is Kristen Kaide, Kistinkaide.